Hey, it's great to have you here today. Ronnie Snowden, Top Speed Golf certified golf instructor, is joining me, and we're going to take a look at some slow motion video for a flop shot, a high spinning wedge shot, and then a stock pitch shot. And one thing that I thought was really cool is when you're hitting this flop shot, most people think they need to be scooping and kind of helping the ball up in the air. When we look at this high speed footage, you're seeing that the hands are actually still in front, even when you're hitting the flop shot. Oh yeah, and by the way, the videos that I'm showing you here, the slow motion videos, are of a friend of mine and phenomenal player, Austin Hitt. He's a Korn Ferry Tour player, and he demonstrates these absolutely perfectly, so he's a good model to use. What did you think was pretty neat?
Well, I thought what was really cool was that even on this, flop shot that you have this face wide open, as he comes through the ball here, he's still releasing that club.
Yeah, instead of trying to hold off the whole way, the face is going to turn over. I thought that was pretty neat too. So let me hit all three of these shots. I'll show you so you get an idea of what they are, and then Ronnie's going to break them down in detail, show you how to do them. So shot number one is a flop shot. It's going to be very high in the air, very low spin here. So we're not trying to get a lot of spin on this. It's mostly just trying to pop the ball up in the air so that when it comes down, it lands in the green and stops because it's going straight down. Shot number two is not going to be as high as the flop shot. That's going to be the high spinning pitch. This one's going to be a little lower than a flop, have a good amount of spin on it. I nicked that one really well. 6,500 RPMs of spin for only a 40-yarder. That's a pretty good spin rate. Shot number three is going to be the stock pitch. That's going to be even lower than the high spinner and still have a decent amount of spin, but not quite as much as the high spinner. Like one more there. So you'll notice when they hit on the screen, the first one went in the black, second one went at the top of the screen, and this third one is going kind of halfway up the screen. These short distances, the flight scope isn't always getting them, but you get the concept there now. Now let's look at the cool slow motion footage, and Ronnie's going to walk you through the differences in each of these three. So Ronnie, what's the differences? Let's start from the ground up. What's the stance width for each three of these shots?
All right, so let's first look at the far left here. That's your flop shot. That's going to be your widest stance of the three shots. You're going to have at least 2 club head lengths between your feet on this shot. And then the middle shot, the high spinning pitch, it's going to be, your feet are going to be a little bit closer together, probably more like 1 to 1.5 club head lengths apart with your feet. And then finally, your stock pitch shot, you want to be much closer, less than a club head length apart with your feet.
Yeah, I like that. And then what about my swing lengths? Obviously, we can only see the bottom half of the swing because I wanted to get a close-up. But I'll do the different swing lengths. How would those vary between a flop, a high spinner, and a stock?
Well, by far, your flop shot is going to be the longest swing, okay? You want to get a lot higher. You got to get that club launch that club or that ball way up in the air so it'll land nice and soft.
Yeah, so it's almost like a 3/4 swing.
Right.
Lots of club head speed to get it to pop
Right.
up there. And that's one of the reasons he just talked about. Stance is going to be a little bit wider.
Right.
Now, when I hit the high spinner, what should I do there? Obviously, we know it's going to vary. If I'm hitting it 10 feet or 30 feet or 50 yards, right? It's going to be different. But
yeah, but it's a much shorter backswing with the high spinning pitch.
Yes, it's almost, if the first one is 3/4, this one's halfway.
They're half, yeah.
And then the stock one is going to be even a little bit shorter than that?
Yeah, a little bit shorter than that. Those two are very similar, much more, the flop is definitely a lot longer than those two, but those two are closer, but the stock pitch is going to be the shortest of the three.
Yeah, so as you get shorter swings, the stance gets closer together. And then the reason that they're shorter too is as you start to take some loft off, which we'll go over in a minute, the ball comes off faster and harder, so you don't have to swing so hard.
Yeah.
So now we've done the hands. What about the club face at address? When we're looking at Austin's videos here, and Austin's a Korn Ferry Tour player, one of the best players in the world. He's doing these basically textbook perfect. What would you see on the flop?
So the flop is by far the most open of the three. The club face is wide open, okay? It depends on how fast you have to get it, how far you're going to hit it, how high you need to get it, but it's going to be by far the most open of the three. The high spinning pitch is still going to be a little bit open, okay, but not as open as the flop shot. And then your stock pitch is actually not going to be very open. It's going to be more of a square face at impact.
Yeah, one of the things we were just talking about off camera is if I was to put an alignment stick on this club, if I have this flop way open, now all of a sudden the face is going out there. If I swung like that, the ball would shoot off to the right, but the hands are lowering down, and now all of a sudden that stick is going straight ahead toward the target. Same thing with that high spinner. We're starting there and a little bit lower. And then the square face, the stock chip, some people like to start with the face a little bit open, that's okay, but pretty much everybody, as they come into impact, is gonna have the face square, which is gonna get it to launch a little bit lower there too. What about the lag in these 3 shots?
So you're gonna have lag with all these shots. You know, I know some people would think with a flop shot that you're not gonna have that lag, but all 3 of these shots you have lag.
Yeah, and you can see with his hands in front of his right leg on each of these, there's still a pretty big angle between his hands and the club shaft when his hands are in front of his right leg. And then let's get to probably the most important part, which I think is pretty cool, the shaft lean. What are you gonna see with flop versus high spinner versus stock?
So what is probably surprising to some is that even with the flop shot, you're gonna have some shaft lean. It might only be 1, 2, 3 degrees, but you still are gonna have your hand slightly ahead. Now with the high spinning pitch, there's much more. I'm gonna say probably around 10 degrees of shaft lean with the high spinning pitch. And then the most of all is gonna be your stock pitch. It's gonna be the furthest up, probably 12, 15 degrees of forward shaft lean.
Yeah, that's pretty standard. I mean, you can even, on a stock one, if you want to get even a little bit more, get that 60-degree wedge. And he's using a 60-degree here. You can use a 56 or a 60. Going to be tough to hit the flop shot with a 56. You're going to have to use a 60 with that one. But the pros almost all hit 60-degree wedge on all 3 of these shots pretty much all the time. You're going to see, like he said, 2 or 3 degrees of the flop. 10 to 12 is probably what I see, like when we're looking on radar with a high spinner. And then when you want to get into that lowest stock one, you could be anywhere from, say, 12 to 15, or if you even wanted to pinch it a little bit more, launch it lower, you could even get around almost 20 degrees of shaft lean, something like that. It's just not going to be as much spin if you're doing it. And then finally, one thing that's really cool is, you know, when you're doing that flop, you're not feeling like you're just holding the face open. You'll see on all these, they're pretty much releasing, right?
All 3 of these, you're releasing the club still, even on that flop, like Clay just said. As you see Austin's coming through that ball, that club head, if you look here, is still releasing as it comes through.
Yeah, and I like that because it feels like your hands have to be pretty soft when you're doing that. Lots of times we try to muscle it and manipulate it. He's very soft. Look how loose his wrists are. Look how the face keeps on turning on over. It's really just the result of having the face very open is going to do all the work for you. You don't have to hold it open even more. You can just kind of let those wrists go. Now, a cool thing to do next is to learn the right bunker technique. So many people struggle with the correct bunker technique. It makes it difficult to get out, but I actually think hitting in I'd much rather be in the bunker than in the rough. Most people would once they learn what I'm gonna show you in the next video. So you're gonna see a preview of a video or a card that pops up on your screen here. All you need to do is click on that video, watch it right now. I'm gonna show you the perfect bunker technique, and you'll pretty much have the full gamut. The stock shot, the high spinner, the flop, and the bunker shot. That's pretty much all you need to know. So thanks, Ronnie. Appreciate you going over the details of this video, and thanks to Austin Hitt for sharing the slow motion with us and allowing me to film his swing.